Good morning. Good morning. You guys got here ahead of me, didn't you? All right, so look where I am. I'm back on Mercer Island. It's a bit chilly. My room temperature when we're gone is set to 60. I set it up, but then it reset itself back. So we're gonna have to do a little warming up just for me, even though I turned on the fireplace. And I have an in-person participant today, so I'll be keeping an eye on her while we're moving through our practice today. So thank you so much for getting up and getting ready to do this practice. Remember that word is practice, not perfect. And thank you for holding all the good thoughts for the people in Southern California. They're not out of it yet. My boys are okay, but the winds are gonna start picking up. So let's just hold those good thoughts for everybody because that's probably the best thing we can do. We're not gonna fix all that stuff. With that said, let's come to Namaste, and we're going to start standing. And remember when I move over there that my voice quality will be a little different. Okay. Well, good for me. I get my tushy warmed up by the fire. So I'm going to stand in Tadasana. So I root the feet. Feel the toes, the heels, the outer inner edges. Engage my legs, so I can either think of drawing in or pushing out. Mula Bandha, that pelvic floor energy like a hammock, lifts up. Lower belly scoots in. Then visualize your spine, vertebra and disc stacking until the crown of your head lifts to the sky. Fingertips reach actively to the earth, so you're really not hanging on your bones, you're engaged. And now turn your attention to your breath with your eyes open, lowered, or closed. And you may notice a congested nasal passage, so if you need to, breathe through your mouth. And as you stand in this amazing mountain pose, recognize how you use it in all of, or most of our other yoga poses. So the action of Uddiyana, the engagement of your muscles, and the attention to your breath. These things I will remind you of during our practice. Know that waiting is an option, so anything that I suggest you wish not to do, you don't need to do. So on your next breath in, raise the arms to the sides of your space, being aware of walls and mantles and such. Keep reaching out through the tips of the finger while being grounded into the earth and lifting into the sky. Zip that zipper, so not such a giveaway. Turning the palms up, raising the arms as they feel comfortable at the shoulders to above and in front of your head. So gaze may be more outward. So just greeting this day, which is a little overcast up here. As you exhale, bend the knees and put the hands onto your side. And I've pushed my hips back. So I'm going to tip the hips back and then tuck the hips under. My hands on my hips help me assess or monitor this. So you'll see my hands moving back and the hands moving forward. So this would be half of our cat and cow, right? So it kind of helps stretch the lumbar in a gentle way. See how your sacrum is feeling. And then pause, slide the hands down on those bent knees, weight into them. Now let's see if we can do from the waist up that cat pose, not touching the tush, but just kind of caving your chest in and bowing the head, and then sticking your chest out and pulling your shoulders back. So just rounding, and then opening. Think of where the breath would be. The exhale as you pull in the chest, and the inhale as you extend your chest. And it's hard not to include your glutes, so being a little mindful. Now pause in that neutral position and let's put the two together. Dropping the tailbone and bowing the head and breathing out. Opening the chest and lifting the tailbone and breathing in. So the cat and the cow. And all this time you're noticing, how does your body feel this morning? Nothing should hurt. That's not what our practice is about. Sometimes it's a little challenging. So leaving yourself in the cat pose, imagine a pillow between the legs. As you squeeze that pillow, rise all the way up and return back to your mountain pose. Grounded feet, engaged legs, reach with the fingers. So now we'll do a little bit more. Let's just park the hands on our waist so we don't have to think about them for the time being. So the front knee will bend. Let's make it the right leg for you. And the left leg will just cross behind and then come back center. So it's almost like a curtsy, except the back foot is actually touching the heel down. Front knee bent gives you that balance, and the back heel down grounds you. So back leg straight, front knee bent, and maybe if you have tight hamstrings or calves or Achilles tendons, this might gently pull but not force. So next time the left goes back, hold it there, right there. Now check that your body hasn't spun off to the side, that it's still forward. Your right arm is going to reach down. Your left arm is going to reach up. So in yoga, traditionally, we look at the high hand, but that can mess up with your balance. So if you want to try looking up, you could, but if it gets too wobbly, you could look forward. You could even look down. Bandhas and breath. Bringing the hands to the heart as we come back to center, finding that sense of calm, leaving the hands at the heart, take the left foot behind as the right arm goes up and the left arm goes down. So we're just finding this opening up, just assessing, and then coming back with hands at heart to Tadasana. Let's move in that side to side position. Try not to tip over with our breath. So inhale, we open, and exhale, we close. Bandhas, bandhas. Inhale, we open, and exhale, we close. Waken up our body. A couple more. Inhale, we open, and exhale, we close. Inhale, open. Take your focus different if you can. And one more to each side. Ground yourself, and then take that grounded feeling into the more exposed pose. Breath out. And last one. And come back center. Now a little hula, a little aloha spirits. Separate the feet a little wider, and now move the hips around. So I really feel my back from yesterday, so yes, I was on the roof, go the other way, but the garbage on my roof, all the debris and carrying it, so this is good to do a practice today. So go into a modified squat. My feet are wide. I'm going to turn the toes out, the heels in, bend the knees as my hands come down. Now maybe you can prop onto those forearms, and maybe you can drop your hips a little more. So nothing too far, too fast, too soon. That's a good phrase for you. Nothing too far, too fast, too soon. So the knees may want to close in. The arms can help them open up. So this is modified garland pose. And then we're going to come down onto the mat. So you may want to use your hands, but if you don't have to use your hands, see if you can place yourself gently onto a knee. And then I'm going to sit on my knees. This may not be comfortable for you. Clearly it is for you. But if you'd rather sit in Sukhasana, sitting with your ankles crossed, grabbing a blanket or a pillow or something, and you can use any of my pillows if you want. We're just going to do a little bit seated in the mat. So opening up through the sides of the body. A moment ago we did this position. This is similar. So on your breath in, the arms lift. Your left arm will drop, your right arm, and actually lean on the arm so your back has some support. See how far that arm can come towards your head. Push off the floor, open up, and gently tip to the other side. So again, moving more dynamically so that we can warm up. Unless you have a good heater and turned it on time. Find your breath. And release. Now I'm going to come and sit on my bum and cross my ankles. I know that may not be available to you, so if you need to have a knee out in front, that's okay. So I'm sitting here. I'm going to do a little bit for my neck and shoulders. You know, this is where a lot of us live. We hold our tension in neck and shoulders. So we brought a little warmth here. Let's see if we can stretch it. I am going to hold on to my legs and lean back. If I let go, I would fall into the fireplace. So I feel that pulls into my shoulder joint. So I'm going to bow the head, looking into my belly. And then I'm going to look forward, and I know you want to drop the head back, but if you could think instead of lifting the heart and looking outward, and then drawing back down. So we still want balance, even though we're working into those upper traps by bowing the head. I'm always a believer in strengthening our back muscles. Pause here, still lean back a little bit, and then maybe an ear to a shoulder on one side. When ready, move to the other side. Find your own pace. We don't have to do this at the same time. You may want to go faster. You may want to spend a little more time there. So notice where you feel that opening into that shoulder. If it feels good, stay there a little longer. If you need to go, go on ahead. So now when the ear goes down to one side, doesn't matter which one, turn and look over that shoulder toward the floor below. Bandha some breath. So now you've gone a little further down the upper traps, bringing your chin to your chest, and then pulling yourself back up. Go the other side, whatever that is for you. So head drops the other way. Breathe as you rotate the chin to look down toward the shoulder and the floor below. Nodding the chin toward the chest, bandhas in, and then pull yourself up nice and tall. Excellent. So bottom of the feet come together, Bandha Konasana. So we're still in that warm-up phase, that getting centered. Bottom of the feet together. Where your feet are, it doesn't matter. Some people have them very close. Some people need them further for their knees. So this is whatever yoga, so you put it wherever you need. The important part is where you're sitting on your buns. So let's move the hands behind so we have a better chance to sit on top of the pelvis instead of back toward the tailbone. When you're leaning on your hands, you'll find the knees might spread a little more. So lift the spine out of the pelvis, kind of free up the hips. We're going to be doing the standing pigeon pose today, working on both the balance and the opening of the hip. But don't worry, when you get there, you can lean on a wall if you need to. So engage through your core. One or two hands come around to grab at your ankles. Keep lifting the spine tall. Use your hands and lean or hinge forward until you can't go anymore. And now let your head just round forward. Nice long back stretch. Bow your head. Sometimes you look at your feet. Sometimes you put your head on the feet. No judgment. It just takes you where it takes you. Rolling yourself back up. Right hand goes behind you. Left hand holds onto the shin. Get nice and tall. Draw the right shoulder back, maybe look off to the side, and then keep looking a little bit behind you. Sometimes there's popping and cracking. Take a breath. And return back center as you swap the hand position. Get very tall. Left shoulder pulls back, and look around behind you. And return center. Coming onto hands and knees, and I'm still getting adjusted to my watch, so I'm going to get credit for this today. I didn't remind you as well, but this is yoga, so find your yoga setting. I took a class at Newport Beach, and she reminded us of the watch, and I said, I need to do that with our group too. So knees under your hips. For those of you who don't use the palms, the knuckles, but have your thumbs point forward, load into all four of your limbs and anchor here. So assess yourself in this position against gravity. I've got my bendy toes turned under. Mula Bandha, check. The action of Uddiyana, check. And I'm just going to shift weight forward and back. So I'm just going to lean a little forward, feel my core activate, and a little back. If you find this is too much for your wrist, again, you can come up, and this works just fine on knuckles. So the core comes into play without even thinking about it. It's just there to help you. So as I go back, my hips moving more toward my heels, my toes are bending. Pay attention to how your feet feel today. And next time I'm going to sit back toward my heels, knowing that not everyone can do that. You may stay here, you may walk your hands back, and you may be the person that said, I could sit on my feet just fine. Looking for a little more, you might be the person who put your hands back here. It's not better or worse, it's just something else to do. So as you sit, bending your toes, stretching out your thighs, breathing. So we go to the bird dog. As I come onto my hands and my knees, I'll relax the toes behind me now. It'll be right arm, left leg as it slides in opposition and reaches. Lift out of the limbs left on the mat as you activate the back foot. There's a temptation to pull back out of the arm that's on the mat, so stay strong over that arm. Leg doesn't have to be high, just needs to be parallel. Release. Without disturbing the back, reach left arm, right leg, pulling up and extending. You may find that one side just feels a little more stable. Connect to the breath. Lengthen against the pull of gravity. And release back. So let's do this a second time. Maybe the crossbow for some of you. Right arm, left leg reach. And you can stay in the bird dog, or perhaps you'd like to bend the back leg, reach around with the front arm and grab the foot. Sometimes that doesn't happen, so if it doesn't, that's okay. Once you have the foot, kick the foot into the hand, like we do in bow pose, but now we're crossed. A little more for our thighs. Chin up. If you did the crossbow, go back to the bird dog, and then we all come back to all fours. No tipping in your back. Take a breath. Left arm, right leg, extend bird dog. Staying here, reaching back and capturing that right foot and kicking the foot into the hand. Returning to your bird dog. We're going to come to all fours, part the knees, and take a moment in child's pose. So just say good morning to yourself. So a practice can also include having intentions. So maybe you're just going to be very mindful and pay attention to the poses we do today. Maybe you're going to do it in the spirit of acceptance, maybe what you can or cannot do today. Maybe you want to do it in the presence of love and happiness. So you can add that extra element to your practice, or you could just do all the physical stuff we're going to do. Coming back up onto all fours, I move my knees a little closer together. I'm going to be on knees. I'll show standing for those of you who say I got knee sensitivity. So let's move, just for reference sake, the right foot forward of the knee. So not under the knee, but forward of the knee. Now I am going to roll over my kneecap, so if you say, oh, I want to double up my mat or put a towel under it, you can. We're on carpet, so we should be okay. Lift up nice and tall as you begin to lean forward. Let's not go to the floor as yet. Think of the hips pressing to lift up, opening the front of that thigh, which we've already begun to do. For those of you who say, I don't want to do this on my knee, you're going to pretty much do the same thing. You're going to come up almost into the crescent pose. The back heel can be up or down or in between, but you want to still push the hips forward and lift up the chest. From here, if you feel I could do a wee bit more, whichever leg is in front, so let's say it's the right hand stays, the left arm comes up overhead and slightly lean toward the bent leg. So you're leaning toward the side that has the hand on the leg while pushing the hip forward, and breathe. As you return back, I'm going to pull the hips back. Same thing's done standing. Hips go back, toe comes up. Maybe you slide the foot forward, I do. Hands are going to reach back. You can grab the hands. You can lace the fingers as you wish. Straighten the elbows as best you can, and then it's a little wobbly, so if you turn that foot in and create a little kickstand, you won't feel as wobbly perhaps. Now the heart leads forward, you won't go that far, or maybe you will. Looking to the extended toe. More of a sense of laying your body on your thigh than it is putting your head on your knee. Abundance of breath. Bring the hands down on your thigh and lend a little support as you come up, and we'll go to the other side. So you can just stay here as you are. I'm going to go the other way just for viewing. You're fine. So the other foot is forward of the knee. Back foot a little kickstand. Lifting up, because remember you're rolling over your kneecap. So as I gently move forward, using props to help as you need, until you feel iliopsoas and the quads. So it's no particular point, it's just where you can go mindfully. Further, not better. And you may want to stay here, but if you want it a little more, so if you have the left knee, left hand stays, right arm will go over, and then kind of lean toward that left side, while still pushing the hip forward. So I have not pulled here and just lateral lean. I'm getting that full body opening. And breathe. Coming back, gently straighten up the front leg, watch the balance, grab the hands behind, straighten up the elbows, Uttanasana. We know this is our forward fold. Ooh, my left hamstring just feels a little tighter this morning. So the intentions are just to notice and be aware, not to go to any particular place in space. Releasing the hands onto your thigh, giving a little support as you come up, and we're going to stand up. Try not to use your hands. If you've put any props down here, you're going to go ahead and move them off your mat. Step on up to the front of the mat. Are you warming up a little bit? Okay, I'm going to turn my fireplace down a little. This is so handy. Just can't imagine what the pioneers did without it, but standing at the front of your mat, Tadasana. Inner thighs squeeze, and here come the moving trucks. Look at all of them. It's a whole parade, a caravan of moving cars. Well, they're not coming here. So as the arms lift and reach towards the sky, I'm going to bend the knees and bring the hands down onto the mat, touching the hands to the side of my feet with the knees bent. Dropping your hips a little more and lifting your chest, drawing the shoulders back so you create a long, strong spine. Now we're all warmed up, so the right foot steps back. We'll all do the right foot back to a lunge. Ground yourself on the ball of the right foot. Keep the left knee above the ankle. If you need to use that left thigh to come up, you can. Otherwise, stand up. To the crescent pose, front knee bent, back leg straight. Squeeze the thigh straight as it tends to soften. Consider floating the arms forward, adding a little more challenge to your core, to your back. Some of you may want to bring the arms overhead. You can take your focus outward or upward. Just get the sense of being grounded. On your exhale, the hands, palm, or knuckles come all the way down to the side of the left foot. Step the left foot back to where the right foot is and move into a plank. Looking outward rather than dropping downward. Hips aren't high, hips aren't low. Elbows will be in, shoulders will be down from your knees or from your toes. Lower your chest all the way down to the mat. Relax the feet. So we're going to reach the hands back, palms by your side, thumb down, pinky finger up. Toes do stay on the mat for this one. Drawing the shoulders back, reaching the fingers back, lifting, engaging muscles in your back. Release the hands back under the shoulders and relax the back down. Toes under, leave your knees down. Pop your bums up just a wee bit. Elbows in, shoulders down. Do the best you can to keep the hips up. Then press up onto the hands and knees, onto the hands and toes. Lift up your hips, look back. Take 2 small steps forward And we'll walk our first dog. So as I bend one knee and straighten the other leg, I'm walking the dog. Press into the pads of each one of your fingers. Raise both your heels, bend your knees, sit back, look forward. As you wish, you walk, you step, you jump to the front of your mat where your hands are. Dropping the hips, lifting the chest, lay the body on your thighs, hands on or around your calves. Gently fold in half at your waist. More important to keep the body on the thigh than it is to straighten the legs. Release the arms, bend the knees, move into a chair pose. Watch your blood pressure. So as I sit in a chair, this might be better for a back issue, but you can do more tradition. You can go lower, you can be higher. So you get to be any kind of chair you want. Find your breath. Burst from the earth, lift to the sky, bring the hands back, and stand like a mountain. Remember, the foundation is Tadasana, so you take all of the elements of Tadasana, move them into your plank, your crescent pose. Breath in, both arms come up. Breath out, we bend the knees and touch the earth. Breath in, we lift our chest and drop our hips. Now time for the left foot to take a step back. Ground your feet, good separation. And then when ready, with the help of your bandhas or your leg, standing up into crescent pose. Squeeze the back knee straight. Gaze outward. So yeah, it can be a little more wobbly if you're higher. So once you sink into it and get your body perpendicular to earth, consider the arms forward as an option. Consider arms overhead as an option. Take your focus and breathe. Breathing out, the hands find their way to the mat, and the front foot steps to join the back foot, and we come into a plank. Pause here. Now from the knees or from the toes, elbows in, the body lowers to the mat as a unit. Relax the feet. This time the hands come back and you grab them or lace them, and the toes can come off the floor. So you can begin by lifting the chest, and if it feels appropriate, you can lift the legs, though you don't have to. Bringing the hands back under the shoulders, I'm going to curl the toes under and lower myself down. So you either lift the hips with the knees down or lift the thighs with the knees up. Do the best you can. Leave the hips up as you press off the mat into a plank position and right on up into your second dog. Adjust your feet. Remember, the feet shouldn't be too close or too far. They're Goldilocks, just right. You may prefer to keep your knees a little bent, or you may be able to sink the heels toward the mat. Elbows wrap in, and you feel that length of your spine, tailbone going toward the sky. Stand on your left foot, pick up the right foot behind you. Toes can be down or toes can be open, three-legged dog of your choice. Arms are straight and the leg is straight. Breathing out, put the right foot down. Breathing in, lift the left foot up. Again, your choice, legs parallel or opened at the hip joint. Breathing out, putting your foot down. When you breathe in, rise up on the balls of both feet. When you breathe out, bend the knees, sit back, look forward. You walk, you step or jump to the front of the mat where the hands are. Bend the knees, lift the chest, bind, bow, and breathe. Release the hands, find yourself finding a chair pose of your own making. So be a chair, relax the shoulders, really sturdy arms, bandhas, all the elements of mountain pose right here on your chair. Burst from the earth, lift to the sky, and return back to Tadasana. Hands on your side. So I'm going to turn and face you. You're good where you are. You don't need to position to the long end of the mat. So a little bit of balance. What will happen is, I'll turn sideways just for a moment. So a leg will touch the front, come up and touch the back. Then eventually it'll go side and go behind with the knee straight, and then in front. And then eventually we end up with the leg up over our knee, and we sit back. And we can put our hands here or put our hands here. So we end up in that standing pigeon pose. So we're going to do a little movement now. This may make you get a little wobbly. That's okay. Your body will sort it out. Let's just put the hands on the hips so we don't have to think about them. When we land in that standing pigeon pose, you can either brace or put your hands at your heart. Tadasana. Let's begin with the right leg. So you're going to pick up the knee and touch the foot in front. Pick up the knee and straighten the leg back and touch behind so you engage the glutes. All the while your core and your bandhas are supporting this element of balance. Last time it will stay behind you on the floor. And now I'll move it to the side, touch back behind, squeezing the bum as that knee is straight. Side crossing in front, side crossing in back, side crossing in front. Last time to the back, this time side, and bring the ankle up over your knee. Sit back, either use your hands on your thighs or place your hands at your heart as you come into the standing version of pigeon pose. Breath. As you stand up, open the arms, open the legs, ta-da! And strike the mountain pose. So notice that sensation of calm coming back to you. Reposition the hands, and without judgment, we go to the other side. Could be better, could be squirrely, we don't know. Stand on the right leg. Bandhas are very helpful. So we pick up the knee and touch the foot in front. Pick up the knee and foot goes behind. So your body shouldn't feel like it's leaning front and back to accommodate the leg. Squeeze through the bum. One more front and back. And now I go side, return it behind and cross over without letting the body twist. Side cross in front, squeeze inner thighs. Side cross back. Side and in front. Last time behind. So it goes side, lift it and come up on the thigh. Sit back, use your hands, take your time. Be mindful as you sit, sit, sit. Hands can stay on the thigh or come to the heart. Find your breath. Standing up, ta-da! And close the posture. Let's give a little sacrum, feet apart, circle of the hips. Remind you how much the core is working and going the other way. Now turn sideways on your mat, or you can turn your mat if it's better for you to see me. So you want to stand in a wide straddle with the edges of the feet parallel with the edges of the mat. How wide? Well, if you put your arms out and point down, that would be the leg position distance. So if you're 6'6", like my son Carson is, you will probably have a wide straddle. And if you're on the shorter side, you would have narrow. So not too close, not too far. Goldilocks just right. Release the arms. Bandhas, breath, a little forward and back bending. You may end up touching the floor, but again, it doesn't matter. Thumbs at the small of the back. Now for those who have spinal stenosis, a little bit happening with me, it's okay if you consciously push the hip forward and lift the chest so you have a mitigated arch. For those of you who have no constraints, or at least no constraints in your back, you generally will lift the heart and do your back bend without letting your hips shift forward. So you open up on the breath in, As you breathe out, let's take the first one where the hands slide down over the thighs. Lean into the toes as you greet those hamstrings. They should be a little ready, maybe over the knees to your shins. Maybe some of you will grab your ankles. Maybe some of you will put your hands on the mat under the shoulders. Again, it doesn't matter. If your hands do happen to come to the mat, consider then placing the head on the floor between them. I just said consider it, doesn't mean you have to do it. As you begin to return, imagine a big giant pillow between the legs, so you squeeze it, that gives support to the back. Move your thumbs back onto your back, and then mindfully squeeze the legs as you rise up, either pausing here, being aware of blood pressure, or doing another back bend. And on this forward fold, as we go down, you can stop hands above the knees, the shins, the ankles, the floor, or you can take your first and second finger and grab the big toe, lock it in with the thumb rather than pushing the thumb onto the floor, and then pull the toe like it's a handlebar, and you again go to Uttanasana. Hard to grab your toes with socks on. So you could just put your hands back on the floor. If your toes were available, you would use them to help pull you forward. There's lots of options, and don't worry if you can't do one or the other because it's just where you are. Feel your sit bones spread. Imagine that giant pillow again. Give it a little squeeze, thumb to the small of the back as you once again rise. So this time we do a little shoulder opening, so weight at the top or do another back bend as you breathe in. As you release, this time hands go behind, lace the fingers or just grab the hands, straighten the elbows, and now go to your forward fold. Again, you may or may not touch the floor with your head, it's not a competition. If you find this is easy, try closing your palms together for a little bit more. Don't have to, it's just that next place to go should you want. Release your hands, put your hands on your knees, bend your knees. Slowly roll yourself up. So depending on your orientation, you're going to turn the right leg to the short end of the mat. You're now facing the long end of the mat. You're going to turn the right foot to the short end of the mat. You're going to turn the left foot in, so it's going kind of diagonal. Take your hands on your hips and turn them forward. Begin bending the front knee. Do you recognize the pose? If you said warrior, I would say yes. So you may have another leg because maybe to see me, that's what you need to do. So my hips are forward. That's why that back foot is not turned out. It's kind of spun in. Bend the front knee. Roll into the pinky toe as the arch of the foot takes a lot of pressure here and it translates all the way up to your hip. Again, as we did in the crescent pose, float the arms forward. And if you wanted a little more, you might want to raise the arms and you breathe. So whichever leg is in front, the same arm goes in front. The high arm goes behind. The body turns to the long end of the mat. So your body is now facing the long end of the mat with the front arm being the same as the front leg. And you deepen a little more into Virabhadrasana too. Shorten your stride, come in a little bit. A little more. There you go. Now, sink down. Bend your, there you go. Warrior two. There's a temptation to let the knee buckle in, so just keep it right there. Slowly straighten the front leg, return to center, and close the posture. So if your legs feel like, because you're turning your toes out, that you're getting into the splits, you can move those feet a little closer. So now let's go to the other side. Might be your left, but if you're doing the right leg, so be it. So the right foot has turned to face the short end. The back foot, rather than facing the long end, moves kind of on that diagonal. Position your hips as you bend into the other knee. Chest and hips are forward. And you feel a little deeper pull into the groin instead of just the hip flexor. It's a little different feeling, methinks. Release the arms, engage your bandhas, float them forward or over your head as you wish. So Virabhadrasana 1. A warrior has internal fortitude. So whichever leg is in front, it might be the left arm then comes down in front, and then the other arm goes behind. That arm going behind should turn your body, so instead of the body facing forward, the body now is facing the long end of the mat. Focus on the front hand, but the body has shifted. Recommit to your lunge in Virabhadrasana 2. Find your breath. Slowly straighten the front leg, turn the toes forward, and slowly walk your feet in. As you walk your feet in, just keep walking, and you just feel things get put back where they should be. So we're going to do a little practicing of sitting and standing. So this may not have happened to you, but somewhere along in life, we start using our hands to sit down, or we go over and we find something and we go down that way, either for balance or for knee replacement or hip replacement. So we're just going to see, can I access the floor, and which is the best way for me? So you may be the person that says, oh, I just cross my legs like I'm 6 years old and sit down. So if you can go down like this safely, that could be you. And then if you got down that way, perhaps you can come back up that way. That might not be you. So here, let's do some other options. You can change your legs, or maybe you go down on one knee, controlling the pressure, sit onto one hip and bring your legs around. And then if you were to get up, you would get on your hip, roll back to your knees, and access the floor by standing up, hopefully without your hands. This is something that sometimes requires practice, because I don't know when it happened for me, but certainly I go down like this and come up like this, I think. So having that apparently is a predictor of longevity. I don't know that to be true, but I have read that. And it's probably true. The more mobility we have, normal mobility that we have, the more we can function in our life. So one more time, let's access the floor on your own terms. And we're going to be on our back. So position yourself so you can see me. And we will be laying on our back. So I'm going to roll down ever so slowly. If that doesn't suit your back, go ahead and get down onto your back. Bandhas, bandhas, bandhas. So when on the back, nod the chin. So you're looking down and out to your thighs instead of up and behind you. Yeah. So my hands are by my side. I'm kind of in a bridge pose. I'm going to pause here for a moment and take in and assess my body with gravity this way. I was on my hands and knees. I was on my stomach. I was upside down. So now I'm on my back. You know, I'm very picky about where your low back is. If you press your low back down without even thinking of it, it inevitably tips your pelvis up and puts a little bend in your neck. I don't know that that's what we're looking for. But of course, I do want you to tighten your belly, but I don't need for your back to go down. So maybe put a hand on your belly and put a hand under your back and practice tightening the belly as much as you can without letting the back release. So we can have that strong neutral position of our spine without moving out of it in kind of a cheating way. And honestly, when I taught Pilates, we used to say imprint the spine. So it's a thing, but I think it's more functional for us to tighten the abdominal wall and keep our natural curve. But you get to be you. With that established, you can remove the hands by your side. Keep breathing as you have that belly tight. Lift either one or both legs up into the tabletop where the knees are above your hips. Not too close, forcing the low back down, making it a bit more comfortable, but right there. And the knees can be together or apart as you wish. Floating the arms above your shoulders, palms in. Now as the arms stretch back, but not to touch the mat, I anchor the shoulders, I keep my belly engaged, and then I pause there. So I'm not thinking the hands even should touch the ground, maybe just adjacent to your face. So I'm going to pause here for a moment and take in all the sensations of trying to stay in this position. Where does your body object to this? Is the back wanting to arch up, or do you feel the need to pull the knees in? This is not so easy, I think. So the knees above the hips, the arms go back a wee bit more. There you go, a little bit more. Eventually you hit the windowsill, but that's as far as you probably need to go anyway. And you're breathing. Eventually you'll probably want to scoot up on the mats, bring them there. Yeah. Now bring the knees to the chest, use the hands, and release. So you should feel a difference between when you were engaged in working and now you're relaxed. So let's play with that concept of working in that neutral position, returning your knees back to over the hips and your hands up. Anchor through the belly without pushing down in the back, and stretch the arms back, not letting them touch the mat. All you want to do is let one toe go down from the hip joint and touch the earth and come back up. Careful you're not bending and straightening the knee, you're just dropping the leg from the hip joint, touching the toe softly and returning back up. So I'm not just bending the knee, the hip is moving, it's frozen at the hip, it's frozen at the knee. Keep going. So we're going to go from the hip and from the hip. So not bending and straightening. The knee is in a cast, so hold that knee joint still. Keep breathing, and now bring both knees in, grab again with the hands. Next time we do it, we're going to add movement of the arms. It's not hard, it's more like a coordination test. While you're in this in-between pose, I will demonstrate for you. So what will happen is one foot goes down, my arms will go down, and then when it comes up, they'll go back up, and all the while my back remains neutral. Again, moving from my hip joint, not pushing my leg out straight, not bringing my heel in toward my bum. Back to tabletop. Anchor your shoulders, address through your midsection, and let the arms go back. So I'm touching one foot down, my arms stay where they are, and then when the leg comes up, my arms come down to the floor. So to the floor, I'm stable. Now the arms go up as the other toe goes down, and return. Make sure the arms come all the way back down to the mat. Again, it's a little bit of a coordination test. Going slow and mindful rather than speedy. Address through the abdominal wall and the breath. Couple more. And bring both knees in and relax. Now I think it's prudent to go ahead and cross the ankles so you don't have to, because I want the feet to be down here, heavy legs. The hands will come behind the head. So here's what's going to happen. The upper body will lift, almost like a traditional crunch or sit-up. So for years, I say decades for me, we have told people don't pull on your neck, and that's exhibited by the elbows pulling forward. So in an effort not to do that, what I see now people doing is this. They're holding their elbows back, but then their neck is jerking forward. So I say let's be reasonable about this. Feel the weight of your head in your hands and let your hands cradle it. That means your elbows are not going to be forward or back or your shoulders up. You're just going to be in that neutral position. And then from there, lift and lower. The hard part is the mantra of resting your head in your hands. Now I know some of you tend to have a little issue with dizziness, so try and keep your focus outward rather than looking up and looking down. Disable the lower body so it's not participating. This is just our upper body moving and returning. Using your exhale when you're lifting And your inhale when you're lowering will serve the needs. Pause with your head down. Go ahead, grab those knees. Maybe move your head from side to side if you're feeling anything in your neck. So as we have been doing our whole practice, we're going to add both elements together. So this one will actually be a straightening of the leg as you're lifting the chest. So as you're in rest mode, let me demonstrate for you. So here's what my head will be doing like we just did. But here's what one leg will be extending, and then I'll come back down, and then the other leg extends. And try and keep this at a slow pace. In fact, maybe use your breath, breathing out when you're lifting and extending, and then breathing in when you're coming back. So you don't end up hyperventilating, go pretty slow. Rest your head in your hands. I'm going to ask you about your neutral spine. Does the low back happen to be pushing into the mat at any time that you're doing this? Just thought I'd ask. And let's finish by placing our feet on the mat for bridge pose. My fingers mark that place with my heels. Feet are parallel. Mula Bandha Uddiyana action. We're going to roll up the spine. While your hands are down, I'm going to move my hands so you can see my spine. Hopefully we'll demonstrate the articulation. So I start at my pubic bone, curling that pubic bone toward my belly. Yes, I engage my glutes, slowly lifting my spine, vertebra by vertebra, rolling as mindfully as I can to the apex of my shoulder blades without, see, I can still lift my head so there's no pressure on my neck. And then coming back down, broadening through the shoulders, articulating the spine, drawing in through the belly, and then slowly releasing through the glutes. So do that a few times for your own edification and mindfulness of what's called articulation. Leaving the legs parallel because they often like to splay. Noticing where there might be some sticky parts, where is it difficult to try and get that next part of the vertebra down. So on the next time you elevate, let's stay at the top of the bridge pose, shall we? And you're welcome to stay where you land, or you could snug your shoulders inward, maybe grab the hands, binding them together, and then maybe push into the feet for a little more. Again, you get to be you, and you may be inclined to close your eyes, but I would suggest open your eyes and watch your belly rise and fall with your breath. If you ever need to come out of the bridge pose for whatever reason, of course you can. Otherwise, see if you can stay here for 3 more breaths. For those who have remained and snug your shoulders in, uncurl the shoulders and mindfully articulate your spine until your hips come back down. Without pulling the knees in, as I know you want to do, just pause here a moment, settle back into neutral. Slide your left foot out, flexing the foot as if it's reaching to the wall beyond you. Pull your left knee in, grab it with both hands. Stay here a little bit as you're creating that space between your thighs. Maybe catch a few breaths. So with the right knee in, hold it with the left hand. You know, I favor the fingers kind of ending up behind the knee at some point. Release your right arm and look to that right hand with the palm down, shoulder height out on the floor. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, gently carry the right leg across your body. This is where I slide the hand behind my knee. Keeping the right shoulder down, you weight the right knee across your body. Some of you, the knee will float. Some of you might even be able to let the knee drop. If you're looking for more opening in your shoulder, if you're feeling a little tight in the front of your shoulder, another variation is to go ahead and let the knee drop, in which case it's likely that the right arm will lift up, the palm will turn up, and the hand will come off the floor, so you're getting an anterior stretch. That's just a variation. If you like the more traditional, keeping the shoulder down and just using the weight of the leg, you stay there. The important is that you're breathing. Notice if you're holding tension anywhere or if there's a place where you can soften. So we're going to go into that hip of the crossed leg, should be your right. So I'm going to bend the bottom leg, the one that was outstretched. As I begin to roll to my side, that right ankle is going to be on top of my left thigh. Should look something like this. From here, you can either do traditional or classic pretzel pose by lifting the left leg and holding behind the knee. You know, I roll just by holding my front leg, my top leg, so I can manipulate the knee away and the foot in. Adding as much or as little pressure as you need to get into that hip and that glute. And don't forget, if you're here and say, I would like a little more, if you roll to the left side with your right leg on top, you will get a little more. So there are ways to play with this that might be more satisfactory. And this is much easier than doing the standing version that we did, right? Nobody's falling over here. So we'll set that left foot down, and then we'll set our right foot down, and the right foot's just going to keep going all the way down until it straightens completely out. Active. Drawing the left knee in, pausing for a few breaths to kind of wiggle and squirm in separation. Keeping the right knee on the right hand on the left knee, the left arm turns out to the side, looking at it. Draw a breath in. On the exhale, leg carrying across. Again, exploring your options. Sometimes the front of our shoulder just needs a little bit more, and having it lift and suspend is the right thing to do. Big breaths are lovely to have. So I'll bend up that bottom knee a little bit, and as I begin to roll, my left ankle gets a free ride on the right leg. How about you? Again, choosing to go into that traditional pretzel or a four post, or just holding like I do. So I have my knee pushing against the ankle, bringing the foot closer to me, and then my hand or my elbows pushing the corresponding knee away. And if you want it a little more, if you roll to the right side with your left leg on top, still pushing all those elements, it gives you maybe a little more active with your feet, so not twisting at your ankles. So that addresses kind of the outer hip and the glutes, but I am a fan of opening our inner thighs. So rather than putting your feet down, take the top leg off and bring the bottom leg up, reclined Bandha Konasana. That means bottom of the feet together, holding at the ankles, dropping the feet, pushing the knees apart might be all that you want. I'm going to turn my back because I don't want to stick my toe in the fireplace. So you can stay here. You could open your legs. You may be the person that needs to hold on to the inner thigh hamstring area so you can get those knees straight. You may be the person that can grab the ankles or the calves. And you may also be the person that can take a 2-finger lock, once again around the toes, and open the legs. Dropping the tailbone so that there is that natural spine. There's a tendency to push the back down and lift the tailbone up. Go the other way and your inner thighs will feel this a wee bit more. Find your breath. As you bend your knees, feel free to roll to your side, or if it's comfortable, rock yourself all the way up until we come up and face one another. So notice the blood pressure change, your eyeballs are all funny. So I'm going to do one more with us, a little bit for our upper body strength. I don't know about you, my legs are much stronger than my arms. Same with you? Yeah, it's just how it goes. So I personally always feel like I have to do a little bit more. I want shoulder strength, I want my shoulders stable, I want to be able to lower my body safely, and I also want that flexion in my wrists. But you can use knuckles if your wrist is an issue today. So I will show you, and then we will do together. So you'll slide out on your hands, and you'll come into a plank. Then you'll drop your knees down. Your elbows will be in, and you'll lower yourself down as far as you can and come back up. So the orientation of elbows is in as we practice chaturanga. My theory is this is much easier on your shoulder. If you looked at me do a regular push-up, and I'm not saying anything's wrong with regular push-ups, I do them, but look what happens to my shoulder. It's so vulnerable when I do a push-up this way. It doesn't have the mechanics to support it. When I do it this way, everything is kind of lined up. This is what tends to happen, but it's so good for your triceps. So you will go down as far as you can go down. If you're the person, once you get to the plank and drop your knees down, who can go down and come back up, I would start with that first. That's what I do, and then I kind of peter out. I start strong, and then I fade. But work where you can, and we'll just do what we can until we need to go into child's pose. So your trajectory or yours could be different than mine. The chin is up, the shoulders are down, practicing chaturanga. If you can do this on your toes, you go with that. So I come to my plank from hands or knuckles, and then I soften the knees, and then I lower myself where I feel I can and come back up. Keeping my chin up, using my breath. At some point you may feel like you need to go to child's pose, that's fine. If you can do a few more, that's fine. If you're in child's pose, you may want to move the wrist around. So as we come back up, shall we call that the practice session and now we do it again? I think we should. So the first one now, if your wrists are objecting, try knuckles, because this can still work with knuckles. You just may be a little pre-fatigued, so I don't expect we'll do maybe but half of what we did before. Get to plank, soften your knees, chin up, elbows in. Now this time when you come to child's pose, bring your knees up and have one foot behind the other so they're not same side, they're asymmetrical, and we'll do our asymmetrical child's pose. Breathe. Come back up and we'll do the other side. So my knees right now are next to one another. Then I slide one knee back a little bit, and it's so weird. So, and as we come up, we will sit and spin and then move toward Shavasana. So hopefully it warms you up a little bit. So sit with your ankles crossed, shift your ribs out and around. And then we go the other way. And then you can stay sitting on your bum or sit on your knees, or you can go to a chair as your right hand comes onto your shoulder and your right elbow goes up. Then your left arm goes out, thumb down, hand goes behind, slide the elbow in so it's up against the side of your body, and then reach for your hand behind and then lean forward. Don't worry if the hands don't come together. They do for some, but not for all. As you come up, release the low arm first and the high arm second. Don't be surprised if one side does it and the other side doesn't, because that's how it goes. So I got my elbow up here. So make sure it's not this, that it's this. Then the thumb down, slide the hand in, elbow in, hand up your back, reach, maybe bind. So different. When ready, you lean forward. Again, not important if the hands bind. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And as I release up, the low arm comes down first, the high arm comes down center. And now you can probably put your socks on, and if you have a robe or a hoodie or something, as we're gonna maybe move into Shavasana, and bring with us the attitude of gratitude. Our practice of yoga always embraces the attitude of gratitude. Every day, for us yoga people, that should happen. And then you can come on to your backs or your sides or your belly. I'm not too fussy. The classic Shavasana is laying with legs apart, palms up, and usually you take, if you have something in your hair, you take it out so that it doesn't feel tight. Even glasses are often removed. So this is one way. I'll put a blanket on you. You could be this way. You could lay on your belly. It's just a time for you to kind of settle down, step away from your body. Like this. And if you want to lay on your back, but you find that your back is a little uncomfortable with that, try bending the knees and letting the knees together and the feet apart. And why that position? Because you could do that with a skeleton and you wouldn't be using any muscle, ligaments, or tendons. So we always have this extra part at the end of our practice to do nothing. For some people, that's very easy. And for others, it's a challenge to quiet the mind. So let's just see if we can go to that lovely space beyond ourselves, feeling the body relax on the earth, supported by Mother Earth, feeling safe and cared for, becoming aware of your heartbeat as it slows, the face unclenching from any tension or worry, As the body begins to melt, the mind may start looking for things to do. So you could just keep hanging out with your breath, watching it move in and watching it move out. Or you could wander into nature. Perhaps the mountains lift your spirit, or the ocean, or a river, or the desert, or even in your own garden. So give yourself this moment to practice that internal peace and calm. And then you can go there whenever you want or need. Wait in this silence until I ring the singing bowl. Let this time be yours. So there with the singing bowl is the request to come back. Come back. Deepen the breath, wiggle your fingers and toes. Awaken and restore yourself. And feel that you have refreshed and renewed yourself, and you can stay as you are, roll onto your side. And here I share my thoughts. Carl Jung said, there are as many nights as days, and the one is just as long as the other in a year's course. Even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness, and the word happy would lose its meaning if it were only not balanced by sadness. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we never had a problem or a bad day? And yet the sunshine after a storm is often brighter and more pleasurable than the sunshine after a string of cloudless days. Happiness that follows a troubled time can be more intense, or at least more appreciated, than happiness in the midst of an easy time. So our thought for us: if I feel like things are not going well right now, I'll think about how good it's going to feel when I get through this, and I will get through this. So with that said, that little saying may or may not have a relation to you. Go ahead and move yourself to a seated position. Again, coming to sit in a fashion. You can sit with your ankles crossed or up in a chair. Just find that position of being vertical. always remembering our bandhas and how they support us, knowing our breath is there and that we relax through our neck and shoulders. So once again, stretch the arms up to the sides of your space. Lift the arms, lift the heart, gather in all that goodness that's out there floating around. Capture it in your hands and bring it deep inside to your soul. And we share that word that means the happiness in me honors the happiness in you. Namaste.